Lower this on down. Well, hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today we are going to be talking about the CanAm Spyder, a long-term review. Looks like a little change of scenery. I just finished performing my civic duties. Anyway, no virtue signaling here, but anyway, let's talk about the Spyder. You know, I've had this thing a while now. I bought this thing in December of 2019. So this was the month before the 2020s were really out in full force as far as the year-end stuff. They were starting to arrive at dealers. The body changes were getting ready to happen, which I do, honestly, I'm going to tell you, I like the newer body style better than I do the body style that I have. However, the performance change is de minimis and the motorcycle itself is the same, other than the fact that it looks a lot different, has a little bit of a different wheelbase, I believe. But anyway, I'm not going to go into all of that differing between the 19s and the 20s. Suffice it to say that if you own a 20 or later, it will look different. However, it has the same powertrain. So this will apply to you as well. I do love the CanAm Spyder. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. I have a love-hate relationship with every machine that I have, quite honestly. And this one is no different from any of the others. For those of you who may not be subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe now. I do have other motorcycles as well. I have 3 two-wheeled motorcycles, and then I have this beautiful CanAm Spyder. And I have a CanAm trailer that I pull behind this so that I can take the effervescent Coach Vic, my beautiful bride, with me on long trips. And she is amazing. She's a paraplegic and loves to travel. Things are getting harder as we're getting older, but we are in it for the long haul, as you guys know. So again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. All right, so let's talk about the old CanAm Spyder. By the way, the new Amazon building, beautiful, huh? But the CanAm Spyder, if you are looking for a performance machine, and I mean something that you're going to be out burning the roads up on, and you really want something that's a hot rod, don't get the CanAm RT. Now, it will perform well for a touring motorcycle. That's what this is. Now, you notice I keep calling it a motorcycle. Some will call it a reverse trike. It is a 3-wheeled motorcycle. But if you're looking for a hot rod, this isn't the machine for you. I knew that going into this game up front. I was looking for a tourer. So as a tourer, does it still meet my needs as it did on day one when I had this machine? The answer is absolutely yes, it does. This thing from day one was a beast of a touring machine out of the box, and it still is. I would not be reticent to ride this thing anywhere that there's pavement. I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. We've taken it through mountains, through cold, through hot. From Key West to Maine and back, from East Coast to West Coast. I'm talking Atlantic Ocean with you tippy-toe in the water on both ends. We've done it on this machine, 2 up, pulling a trailer. So anyone that questions the touring prowess of the CanAm Spyder RT, you can go ahead and lay that one to the side right now. It is not a Goldwing. It is not a BMW R1250. It is not. This thing is a lot different. It is a 3-wheeled motorcycle. It does not lean. It does not accelerate like those. It does not stop like those. There will be some that would want to argue with me on that and say that it will, but I've ridden all of them and it doesn't. Let's just be honest. But it is a phenomenal touring machine, and I love it. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm putting it down by comparing it to those things, but those are the natural things that people compare it to. Now, most people that are wanting to ride the 3-wheeled motorcycle, they're moving into this world for a myriad of reasons. A lot of times it's due to physicality or lack of physicality, age, or lack of experience on a 2-wheeled motorcycle, or just a feeling of safety that 3 wheels provides that 2 wheels can't. And I've done a lot of videos on that as well. So as a touring beast, The CanAm Spyder RT is absolutely that. I have zero regrets. Long term, I feel as on fire about touring on this thing as I did on day one. It is a touring beast. All right, so the second point to discuss of my long-term review here today is one that I'm not really a big fan of, and I don't know that there's an answer to it, and that is the heat. The heat of this motorcycle when you are in town, when you get stuck at red lights, man, in the cockpit up here, it is an absolute inferno. It is hotter than any motorcycle that I have ever ridden in my life. When we were in Lake Havasu sitting at red lights, and I thought I was going to actually melt. It was so hot. Now, it was a hot day anyway, but the heat dissipation off of the engine just to the way that it's set up, this thing gets hot. I mean, it gets real hot. When you're riding, not so much. It's not a problem at all when you're riding. But if you are in stop and go traffic, or if you're on the interstate where you get in those areas where everything stops, this thing feels hotter than a conventional motorcycle. A lot of that, I believe, has to do with all of the plastics that are holding that heat in, and that heat is trying to escape, and it escapes right up here in this cockpit all over you, and that's just how it works. Now, the fans, the radiator fans, do blow away from you when you're below a certain speed, which is nice, but it just can't mitigate that heat. There's just too much of it right there under you that's being all compressed into this warm area and just coming right up all over you. So the heat is one thing that I would say is things that I've looked at over the years. The heat is definitely a thing that folks need to be aware of. Obviously, that is not a deal breaker for me. I'll keep my Spyder, thank you very much. But the heat is an issue. Another thing that I definitely want to recognize as a definite plus on the Spyder is its handling. You know, I've done videos on how to steer a Spyder, and there's a litany of discussions online about the steering of the Spyder, how it's too sensitive. So if I'm riding along, I just set the cruise control. If I'm riding along, obviously no hands here, the motorcycle is tracking. The steering is very, very sensitive. If I bump it or push it, it does not feel like a conventional motorcycle steering, and therefore you're prone to oversteer. But what I'm going to tell you is that once you learn the mild idiosyncrasies of this machine, you are going to absolutely have a love affair with its handling abilities. It does not handle like a conventional trike. It handles like a machine that was designed to have 3 wheels on it, not an afterthought, not saying we'll just throw 2 wheels on the back. This thing, it really, really does steer well. You have great surface patches on the front, so you're not drifting and sliding. The rear end feels solid under you. The handling on this thing is an absolute dream. Now, a lot of folks feel the need, and I'm not putting those people down. They are nice. I know they're nice, and they're expensive, and they're wonderful, is the Baja Ron sway bar. Now, I'm going to tell you, I know that it's an upgrade. I've ridden it. It's wonderful. I honestly, for me and my abilities and what I use this machine for, I don't see the need for me to change anything on the suspension of this motorcycle. Nothing whatsoever. It will deliver far more than I can. It will give me a lot more backbone than I can deliver. I can tell you, I can get on this road right here. This is McCracken Road, and I can whip around these turns, these curves. We don't have a lot of curvy roads in Florida. I'm avoiding the phrase twisties. I'm burned out on the twisty phrase. You can put twisties down in the comment below, but I'm just tired of hearing that word. But anyway, so we don't have a lot of curvy roads up here, so you just have to do what you got to do. But this thing tracks. I'm going 50 miles an hour around these things, and I'm sitting at 54 miles an hour. And I'm telling you, on a conventional trike, you'd be hard pressed. I'm just going to be honest. I've ridden them. I know you'd be hard pressed. And if you did, that front end is going to feel awfully slippery, if you know what I mean. And in inclement weather, because of that large surface patch on the front, it really does track better. So that's another thing that just over time, I have not felt any disappointment or any need to upgrade. So one of the questions that I'm asked a lot about on the Spyder as far as long term is maintenance and just taking care of the darn thing, the costs. Okay, the back tire. You know, the back tire, if you go with the stock back tire and you have a dealer put it on, it's going to run you between $400 and $450. Now that's a chunk of change, and I hear a lot of people complain about it, but that really is in line with motorcycle costs. It really is. And the fact that, you know, although we say we should get more miles out of that back tire, I've gotten roughly 11,000 miles out of each of my tires. So, you know, here I am. I'm at 26,000 miles, a little over 26,000 miles at this point. So I've got another 7,000 miles left on this back tire, probably, depending on how hard I push it and the climate and all that stuff. And all of that does play into it, as anyone who rides knows. Front tires, I'll be honest with you, I'm still on the original fronts. I think that, you know, I believe that probably I'll be dealing more with the dry rot issue than I will with absolutely having to replace them. What I plan on doing is at 33K, when I replace the backs, I'm going to replace the fronts as well. But let's talk about overall maintenance. You know, I haven't really had to do anything to it. It's run well since day one. It's had a few little burps here and there, but nothing that would be unexpected, nothing that was problematic, nothing that was, you know, a big thing. As with any machine, it's a machine. I had to put a new battery in it, a few things like that, but nothing that's a big deal. And the battery, honestly, it's like any other motorcycle battery. It's no more easy or difficult to put in or take out. Oil changes, you can do your own oil changes and you can save you some money. When I did my oil change, when I say I did it, when I had it done, I believe it was $180 to do my oil change. That oil change, though, is not just an oil change for me. What they do is they update your buds. That's the operating system on here. And so I like the idea of having my software updated. So just the fact that I'm going to go up there and I'm going to have any codes that might be on there cleared, update the software and all that stuff, it's worth it to me, that $180. Now the big boy maintenance, your big boy maintenance is I got a big one coming up and it's going to be expensive. And I've seen folks online where, you know, where you're talking about, you know, spark plug replacement and things that are just difficult to get to. Am I going to do that? I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to pay the dealer, and I've got a local dealer, Orion Motorsports. Hello, Orion, who have always treated me right and treated me fairly, and they will do it. They will charge a rate that is fair, that keeps them in business, and that is fair to the customer, which is what I expect. And so it will be expensive, and when I have that done, I will be absolutely transparent and share with you exactly what it cost. But I expect it to be in excess of $1,000, one of the major services. But if you're running any motorcycle, and I mean any motorcycle, when you start talking about major maintenance times, it's expensive. It just is. That's the very nature of riding a motorcycle. So the cost of maintenance and the cost of operation is no worse than any other motorcycle. In fact, I would say it's better than most. So next up on the list is dependability. Is the Spyder dependable? Well, There are many, many who would disagree with me on this, and I know that because I have a lot of subscribers to this channel who communicate with me, and I really do my best to communicate with them as well. It's getting more difficult as the numbers move up, but many who have gotten Spyders and the Spyders did not operate properly, or they had an engine that was not good, or I mean major things. Did BRP stand behind them and make them right? Sometimes. We'll talk about that though in a little while. But as for me, my personal experience, my Spyder's been dependable as the day is long. When I get out in the morning, it cranks up. When it's cold, when it's hot, it cranks up. It starts, it runs, I drive it, it goes. I can't complain about it. Does it ever send me a weird vibe that it's not going to crank? It has. I've been sitting on a hill or something, and I wonder if maybe the way the gas was situated in the gas tank, that it was pulling air in the fuel line or something. You know, I don't know, but it was a little you know, cantankerous on whether it wanted to crank or not. But it did crank, and so it's really not let me down. So this machine has been dependable, and it needed to be, because when we were going through the wilderness up in Maine, you would go 100 miles and not see a car. And when we were going through the deserts out in California and New Mexico, you would not see a car for miles and miles and miles and miles, and there was no services available. So it needed to be dependable, and it did not let me down. And I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie to you. I had a wife in a wheelchair sitting on the back of this thing. It's not like she can just, check out that big old bird, huh? It's not like she can just, you know, get up and walk away with me. It's a problem. If we break down, it's a real problem. So things can go wrong, but things can go wrong with anything. But so far, this thing has been absolutely dependable. And I'm going to tell you, the more you run it, the more dependable it will be, as with every machine. The worst thing in the world you can do is let it sit. So for those who have a vehicle that sits all winter, it's much more hard on your machine than it is on mine. So just take that into consideration with any motorcycle. Fuel economy is what you would expect. It's around 32 to 35, depending on where I am and how I'm riding. 2 up in the mountains, it might be a little less than that, pulling a trailer. I have gone as low as 29. Let's see if I can pull my specs up. All right, over 26,128 miles, my average is 32.2 miles per gallon. So the Spyder does fine with gas. That's my average, 32. It's been better, it's been worse, but that's my fuel economy. I run premium fuel in it. I do not run a non-ethanol in there. I just run a standard ethanol fuel you buy at the pump, and the machine is done well. All right, so my long-term review of this machine, if it sounds like it's all positives, it's because it really is. It's a good machine, and if you want to tour, if you want to cover great miles, or if you want to ride in comfort for short miles, if you want tons of storage, I mean just tons of storage, this is the machine for you. It is a great machine. You can't go wrong. They're not cheap, they're not simple, they're not basic. They're quality machines. Now, there's one thing though that I do want to talk about, and this is something that comes up a lot. That is the disconnect between BRP, its dealer network, and its customer. If there's anything that is a problem that needs to be resolved, it's that. Case in point, I have a 2019, I got a letter saying that, you know, you have a recall. The pulley is going to need replacing. We have a temporary fix for it. Great. Go to the dealer. We don't know anything about the recall or the temporary fix. They make a few calls, I go back. Okay, we do know about the recall, and we'll let you know. Okay, well, what about the temporary fix? We don't know anything about a temporary fix. All right, fast forward, we're in July. I'm in there late July getting some things done, picking up my trailer and had some things done to it. Okay, if you would, I know that in the end of August you're supposed to get these pulleys in. I would like to get that pulley replaced. Well, your pulley may not need replacing. Well, my recall letter said it did. Well, we don't know that it needs replacing or not. Well, the recall letter says it needs to be, so I would like to have it replaced. We'll call you when they come in. Okay. You're watching this video. I don't know what the date is, but I know it's darn near mid-November. I've not heard anything. I've heard nothing. Okay? There is a disconnect. When the manufacturer tells you you need something, and the dealer, for some reason, doesn't know anything about it, they're stuck in the middle. I don't know what BRP is telling them. I know what BRP told me via a letter. So here I am, I'm riding my Spyder. Obviously, I'm riding it. I'm not going to purchase a vehicle and let it sit in the garage while I wait on a bunch of people to figure out what they want to do. This sort of miscommunication, and this is a very small thing as far as I'm concerned, but this sort of miscommunication, when it starts escalating to different issues that may be more critical in nature, they need to get that resolved. They need to quit pushing next year's model so hard and take care of what they have out there. And those things, those tend to frustrate me. The other thing is, you know, I've complained about the BRP Connect app. I just don't use it. I just don't use it. I have a GPS that I'm out right here. I put my phone right there. And the BRP Connect app, even after it's been updated, you know, half a dozen times, is still buggy and jumpy and whatever. And if you turn the machine off, it's a problem. So I just don't deal with it. I just won't deal with it. I always have high hopes, you know, when they run an update on my buds. I always have high hopes that it's gonna magically repair itself and be perfect for me, and the maps will work and all that stuff. But it just doesn't do very good. So I don't believe you can go wrong with the CanAm Spyder. I'm not, you know, this video has a lot less joking around in it than a lot of the videos, because I really put a lot of thought into how I feel about my purchase of the Spyder years later. Would I do it again? Will I keep a Spyder in my garage? Because it takes up a lot of space, it does. The answer to both of those is I have zero regrets. I would buy it again, and I am obviously keeping a Spyder in my garage. So the CanAm Spyder from BRP, it's a good machine. It's a great machine. You can't go wrong. If you want a tour, you absolutely cannot go wrong. And touring comfort indeed, man. I mean, heated grips, cruise control. If you're getting the limited, you got heated seats, you got electronic suspension. I mean, you got it all, man. You got it all, and it is awesome, and it works. It works well. It's a good product. All right. Well, there you have it. Another one in the books. So do me a favor, until next time you go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams. It could be a CanAm Spyder. It could be whatever you want it to be. Eat right, take care of yourself, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are definitely doing it wrong. Now you go seize the day, and I'll see you on the road real soon.